Vishwa, it's an online platform for social champions, for change makers, everyday change makers that we see around us, who have put decades of work, of their lifetime, their earnings, into making a difference, to serve others, and to make our world into a better place.
Namaskaram. Good morning and welcome to Vishwa Talks. My name is Radhika. Thank you all for attending today's Vishwa event. For those of you who have attended a Vishwa Talk before, a warm welcome back. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, here's a little bit about us. Vishwa Talks is a space to expand the horizons of your mind. Every webinar, we call experts from different domains to discuss and examine opinions, issues, problems, and perspectives. Each webinar is an interactive session. If you miss any part of the session, and if you would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website, our YouTube channel for a full library of past Vishwa Talks on interesting topics. Ladies and gentlemen, It's an honor to present our keynote speaker, Mrs. Sita Anand Vaidyam, to share her insights in today's Vishwa Talks. Sita Anand Vaidyam works through Ananda, a foundation for holistic, healthy learning and living. Early childhood education, remedial therapy, sustainable living, and holistic wellness are some areas of her work. She is a remedial therapist who works with children with learning disabilities. Her articles on education, lifestyle, and sustainability have appeared in various newspapers and magazines. She is also author of Good Food, a guide to healthy cooking and eating, which has sold over 3 editions. She has been the recipient of COVID Warrior Award by Beyond Pinks in association with Niti Aayog, a Government of India undertaking, for her selfless work during the lockdown. Her latest book, Parenting Manual, has been listed as an Amazon bestseller in 2 categories. It is a testimony to deep knowledge and experience she has in the field of early childhood. Let's extend a warm welcome to our speaker as she shares her insights and experiences with us. Before we get started, I would like to inform our audience that our speaker will be taking the questions from you after the main talk. Please leave your questions in the chat box or use raise hand tool. We will allow you to speak and ask your question in person after the main talk. I would request everyone to turn on your webcam during the interactive activities. Now let us invite our speaker to begin our Vishwa Talks. Welcome, ma'am. Good morning.
Namaste.
Namaste, ma'am.
And thank you for that introduction, Radhika. I wish to begin today's session with a prayer. I just want all of you to think of all the children under your care. They may be your own children, your grandchildren, or your students or children who are around you. So I just want to start with this simple prayer. These children have lived in spiritual realms before coming down to earth. It is our task and responsibility to rightly guide what the eternal being willed by incarnating in this earthly body. Welcome everyone, and for me it's a very sacred task to be working with children, and hence I began with this prayer. We all love children, and for each one of us, children are very precious. But sometimes we are so overwhelmed with our own expectations, our own wants for them, that we fail to understand that these children come for a purpose. They have their own purpose on earth, and we are mere facilitators, we are mere guides to get them towards that goal, towards that destination. So with that in mind, I have worked in the field of early education for over 2 decades, and I just want to begin with a small quote from a small paragraph reading from my book, that is this parenting manual, which was mentioned earlier, and then we'll move on to the session. The period between 0 to 7 years is when there is tremendous growth in the infant's physical body. The various physical organs, mental faculties, and emotional makeup of the child is being formed. The senses are open and at an absorbent yet vulnerable state. Adults would do well to remember that children in these early years learn through observation and imitation. Every gesture, every deed, and even the attitude of the primary caregivers is imbibed deeply by children in this highly impressionable state. This period is rightly called the formative years and is vital for the overall development of the child. With this, I begin. can we move on to the, I'll be doing a PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll have some more discussions. Yes. So in this book, and especially today's session, I'm going to be speaking a lot about milestones and their significance. When we go to a pediatrician, very often pediatrician asks us about certain milestones. Has the child started looking in the eye and speaking? Has the child started turning over? And so on and so forth, as the ages, as the child ages, like as the child grows. And each chronological milestone is very important to be noticed and noted down. This session is about the importance of milestones and their significance, and of course, a little more than that. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, this is from my book. My book is not just my personal opinion. It's, of course, based on a lot of experiences that I've had with young children, and also working in a pediatric neonatal care ward and a pediatric hospital. But besides that, this book is filled with authentic information. Almost every major sentence that I have made is backed by citations of research. Like it's backed by authentic research, not like any material that is available on the net. So they're all very authentic research backed statements that I've made. And also it has a lot of quotes by experts from across the world, the best in the field of early childhood education and early childhood health. And these quotes were given specifically for the book and not just taken from the net and added to the book. They were given specifically for the book. And why I'm saying this is, so much is said about early childhood. There's so much information, but we need to sort it and we need to filter what is really authentic, because everybody seems to be having an opinion on early childhood, that we have to teach more, we have to start early. So this book hopes to make you understand in a very, very sensible way and a very simple way. It's not rocket science. We all grew up, happily. And I hope that in future also children will not lose this happiness in this rat race that we all seem to be running. So this session, I hope, brings some rest, relaxation in your parenting and in your teaching early children. Yeah, early childhood. Yeah, please, next slide. So, during the first year of life, infants achieve several milestones that are crucial, not just in the first year, but the first 7 years are very, very crucial. As I read in the first bit, that these are the formative years. The word formative means it's not yet formed. So the children are still developing the organs. When we say lungs and hearts, it is not just a smaller heart than an adult heart. The entire anatomy is different. Pediatrics that is why a different specialization. It's not just a miniature adult that we have in children. They're still forming. They've not yet come to where we are. The organs, the different parts of the body, even their faculties are still forming. And I think this is something we need to remind ourselves. We need to bear this in mind constantly when we are with children. A lot of times we look at many things from our perspective, how we look at the world, even how we look at even the visually, how does something look to our eyes? It doesn't look the same to a child, because in the beginning, in the first few years, even their sight is still developing. They don't have the three-dimensional vision yet, so it's still forming. So in such an age, if you go on giving them gadgets which are two-dimensional, the three-dimensional vision will not develop in the right way. If you don't use it, you lose it. And that's something that we need to bear in mind, that these are formative years. They're not yet formed. And hence, do not do everything that you would do with an adult. Don't look at the world from your eyes when you're dealing with them, but from their eyes, their point of view. Yeah, this is something I wanted us to bear in mind. And physical development, if I were to hashtag this session, this is we live in the times of hashtag. So if I were to hashtag it, I would say physical development. Watch out for everything that's physical in the 0 to 7 years. Of course, cognitive understanding, emotional strength is very important, but it is the physical body that is the basis of all this. And we will see more and more how valid my statement is about physical development. Next slide, please. The development of the neck. One of the first things that develops is the steadiness of the neck. You all have seen a newborn, the neck is very wobbly, and people will take a lot of care to hold the baby. People even ask, do you know how to carry a newborn? Because you just can't lift a newborn like that. You need to give adequate support. The spine, everything is so tender. So at this when I'm talking about this, I want to mention about these new ways of carrying babies that is coming up in the market. These carry bags, they strap the children to their bodies, and the children are actually looking out with their hands literally like this, and literally facing the world. I think that's a very wrong way to carry a baby. Traditionally, we carried the baby, we put them on the chest or held them close with a lot of support to the spine. Now, when a baby is sitting like this, even if you put a belt on the baby, you can just visualize that the baby's body will come forward. And that's not a very healthy thing to happen for its spine and for the muscles and for the bone structure of the baby. Remember the word formative. It's not like your body. It's a very tender, delicate body that is still developing. So very important to protect the muscles, the bone structure of the baby at every juncture, especially in the very early years. We have beautiful ways. In traditionally, we have something called the thuli in Tamil, but I'm sure there are words in other Indian languages, where a sari is just made into a cradle structure. When a baby is put to sleep in that, or you rock it, that is that is closest to the way the baby is in the womb, because the sari will assume the shape of the baby as the baby turns. It moves. There's no fixed form, but that sari draped on a hook, I think many of you will be familiar with this traditional practice. So it will just take the shape of the baby as it moves, and that's a very beautiful way to put the baby to sleep in the early months. And of course, to have the baby very close to the mother, and in with the warmth. Remember that inside the womb the temperature is so warm and cozy, and we need to give the same thing after the baby is outside too. And I think it's very important to go back to our traditional practices when it comes to early years or early days of the baby. Even the quarantine, what we used to call in Telugu and other Indian languages as Maila, or Mail, that we don't. The people from a newborn house do not visit others, and others do not visit our homes. This is a very important aspect, because what are we doing? We are trying to protect the child from infection from outside. The people from the house, from a house where there is a newborn, also do not attend weddings. And there are specific, like 3 months they can't go, and for the first 40 days they can't even go to a temple. There are so many rules in each culture, and we now consider them to be superstitious or old fashioned, but I think there was a lot of sense in it. I think the COVID taught us the importance of quarantine and you can imagine how tender a newborn is and how important it is to follow these rules of quarantine and being isolated. Yeah, next slide please. Yes. Now, as you can, as you would have noticed, that children explore through their bodies. In the beginning, one of the first movements after the neck is, steady, then the children learn to turn over. And after they turn over, if they have had enough floor time. When I say floor time, not a very cushiony mattress on the floor. They need hard surfaces. If the weather is too cold, then you might need to put a carpet or a dari. In India, maybe dari, but nothing cushiony. Only then a child will also develop the sense of touch. I'll be talking about senses also later, but the sense of touch is the first important important sense to develop in a child. Even from the time a child touches the cradle, or when a child gets this awareness that this is where my body ends and this is where another person's body begins, and this is where my body ends and this is where a cradle, an alien body is, a surface is touching me. That awareness is very crucial for normal functioning of the child in later years. I'm having some questions. I will take up questions later, and somebody has also asked me to speak in Hindi. I can speak in Hindi, मगर सब लोगों को समझ में नहीं आएगा. अगर आप बोलेंगे, if everybody wants it in Hindi, then it's a different thing. I think in the chat box, somebody can tell me which language would you
In English,
prefer?
we will need in English.
English is okay. Yes.
Occasionally, you can use Hindi words. So if you feel something is a little complicated.
Yes. Yeah. आप बाद में हमको कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, और मैं एक अपॉइंटमेंट ले सकते हैं अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया तो. और जब रिकॉर्डिंग देख सकते हैं आप विश्वा टॉक्स के यूट्यूब में, धीरे से सुन सकते हैं, तो मे बी यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड. यस, द क्वेश्चंस विल बी definitely addressed, but later. Yeah, coming back to crawling. So on the chest, children move forward. Can you just visualize when a child is doing that? A child is using his shoulder muscles, his arms, and his core muscles, that is from the stomach. He's pushing forward. You all would have observed it, but you don't realize what a great landmark milestone this is. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it? It's a great wonder that each child goes through this journey. A small, a dot in the womb slowly grows, becomes bigger and then comes out. And if all things grows normal, all things go normal, then the child cries, and from the fraction of a second, a child learns to breathe. Just that millisecond, the entire process changes from when it was in its womb. This is a wonder, and we take it for granted. We take children and what they do for granted, and we impose what we want so strongly on them. I'm going to say this a few times, maybe I'm repetitive, but I want, over the years, I've realized how much we own children, how much we think we possess them and we need to mold them and we need to do this and that. But I think we need to see what is going to blossom if we don't do all that, and if we allow what they have come for in this world to happen. And I think that's a very important message that I want to put across. And so when a child, as as the days he grows and he turns over and then he starts creeping on the chest, a lot of times nowadays children don't go through this particular milestone of creeping on the chest. Now, each of these milestones, according to neurologists, according to remedial therapists, according to pediatricians who follow authentic schools and holistic um, system of medicine, this each milestone is important, and it plays a role in the neurophysiological development of the child. Now, of course, some of us may not have gone through this milestone, some of our children may not have gone through these milestones, and they still survive. But somewhere, when you skip certain things may not happen in the way it has to. This is the ideal situation that I am trying to give. Of course, we will come to how to deal when situations are not so ideal, when a child does not go through these milestones. We will come to that also. But creeping is an important milestone when the child uses different parts of its muscle, which it cannot use which it cannot develop without using these muscles. Certain movements lead to certain muscles development, the development of certain muscles, and also it leads to certain other muscles to develop, even those that it's not using while doing the movement. So that is why each milestone is important in the development of a child. Next stage. Next slide, please. Yeah, creeping. I want you to closely look at this picture. You can see what can I quickly have some answers? I'm just I love physical sessions, and Zoom is of course a big blessing, but what can you see? Even if you're not answering me, you can just what can you exactly, when you see a child crawling like this in this particular picture, what is it that strikes your mind immediately? Just going to look at the chat box. Can you quickly use the chat box and give me some answers, please? If exploration, yes. Preparing for the next milestone. But what can you see from this particular photo? This particular photo, I want you to observe the posture. I'm not talking about, higher things, intangible things. Just, yes, baby is using, spine is slowly becoming erect, coordination. Yes, coordination. Now that's a very important word. Knees is getting stronger. Yes. Can you see the position? I'm trying to come with the position. Where is the leg? Where is the hand? Can you observe that? Yes. Okay. Without going too much into it, can you see that the opposite limbs are forward and backward? Can you see that? Can you see that there is a crossing? The right hand is behind, and the left leg is forward. Can you see that difference? Left hand is forward and the right knee is forward. Can you see that? I was wrong the first time. The right hand of the child is forward and the sorry, the left hand, I'm so sorry, the left hand of the baby is forward and the right knee of the baby is forward. So there's already a crossing happening. This is a very important a precursor to walking and also to later learning. Now, as a remedial therapist, I can tell you how important it is for the brain, the crossing of the brain. We have the right and the left. And it's very important for us to do math. What is math? You have addition and subtraction, and you have multiplication, the crossing. So I have to take, say, 33 by 23. I have to cross from one side to the other, isn't it? You can, if I have not crossed physically, I cannot cross on paper. I cannot cross mentally. So, this physical, that is why our physical body is a foundation for emotional and mental development. This is something that all parents and educators dealing with early childhood need to drill into their minds. So, when you think, I want my child to achieve this, I want him to achieve this, I have to teach him this, I have to teach him that, first, let him develop his physical body. I think it's a very, very important takeaway from this would be focus on your child's physical body in the 0 to 7 years. Give him ample time to move. Movement is life. Complete stillness is death. Don't slowly lead him towards death. No, we don't want to do that. I think movement is where. And then what do we say? My child is moving too much, so hyperactive, cannot sit still. No, they're not supposed to sit still in the early years. They're supposed to move. Of course, hyperactive disorder is definitely a disorder. But in the early years, if we have not given enough floor time to our children, we are artificially creating hyperactive children. The fault is ours, not theirs. Of course, there are certain exceptions. There are certain disabilities that children are born with. And like I said, we will come to that later. But for you to understand that creeping, can you just see this picture? Some children do not cross. Some children do not even go through this creeping. And this is something that I've heard a lot of parents tell me, मेरा बेटा तो बहुत स्मार्ट है, वो सीधा बैठ गया, ये क्रॉलिंग वॉलिंग नहीं किया, सीधा बैठ गया और पैदल पैदल चलने लगा. We think that is very smart when children don't go through this and they quickly start walking and they very quickly start talking. It's our anxiety that they need to reach where we are. And we think that's fine. But every single milestone is important because these milestones take us through, again, I'm mentioning certain neurophysiological developments that cannot happen otherwise. They cannot happen. There is no substitute to these movements. And also there's coordination. And as the child starts creeping, you will also notice that a child is looking around. So he's doing multisensorial. He can hear something, so he will crawl towards that, or he sees a toy that is bright and then he wants to go grasp it. And then he's also balancing. He's coordinating between the different limbs, different muscle groups in his body. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. Just because for some children it happens automatically, don't underestimate what is happening inside the body. It is amazing, each individual's journey. It's like a cause for celebration. It's like it's each milestone is a moment for the child, because against gravity, the child is first raising himself up on all fours. And then, of course, the child raises himself in two legs. And these are all, body physics that a child understands in the process of growing up. Now, there could be a lot of impediments to this. One, the child constantly being carried. And another thing, the child constantly falling sick because of various reasons. Too much of chemicals for a small cold and cough, giving him antibiotics, feeding formula food very early, feeding, what is chemically laden. All this will definitely have a bearing on the development of the physical body. Yeah, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So then the child learns to sit without support. So this really means using of his core muscles, the trunk, abdomen muscles. A child learns to sit without support. You know that in the beginning the child wobbles like this, and when you allow infants to sit first with support, not too early. First, they have to crawl, and then usually children know when to do it on their own. And if we introduce things like a walker, or if you introduce certain things which are interfering in their self development, then we may hamper the strength of the muscles, the strength of the bones. It's so very important to choose furniture, to choose how the caregiver handles the children. All these are very, very important. Remember, the child is very delicate. And once you become sensitized to that delicacy, of course, but to that delicacy is like to taste, sorry, that's a wrong choice of word, but that delicate state of the child, then you will understand that you have to handle the child in a more caring and in a more careful manner, more sensitive manner. And yeah, next slide, please. Yes, the achievements of these milestones is indicative of the infant's motor development and provides a glimpse into their physical capabilities and progress. So this is gross motor, that is the big muscles, and fine motor. In the beginning, children will grab things, in this way, and then they will go on to the pincer grip, like using 2 fingers. So can you imagine preempting a child to write? And I'm throwing a question which I don't want you to answer now, and I'm not going to take the answers right now. What is the right age for a child to hold a pen and to hold a pencil and write on a paper, or whatever, or on a slate? And now maybe you give a stencil and make them write on some gadget. But this is a question: what is the right age for a child to hold a pencil and write? This is a question I am asking you. I don't want answers right now, but this is a very important question, and I hope things change after this session. At least your understanding that what children need to do at what age changes after this. Next slide, please. Yes. Now, what is the connection between your this physical, whatever I showed you, the different stages? Of course, I could show even standing without support, and then walking without support, walking with support first, and then without support. But I just wanted to cut it short to save more time for our interaction. So it's quite obvious that the child also starts standing on his own, and this standing in 2 legs, I want to mention, is something unique to the human beings. Of course, in circus, dogs and lions or elephants are also made to stand in 2 legs, but that's not natural to them, right? Only the human being stands on 2 legs upright with his spine erect, and it is the human being that can also think like an individual. We function as an individual. No two individuals, even the twins, are not similar entirely. They may look similar, but we are two different individuals. And I think it's not a coincidence that this standing upright and this ability to have discretion, this ability to have judgment and thinking and complexity in thinking, there's a correlation between these two faculties that we have. And against gravity, we are standing. We just take it for granted. Can you imagine when a baby raises itself against gravity? It's like climbing Himalayas. It's like climbing a Himalaya for him in that age. It's a big task. In fact, some children will look around and they will want to be applauded. I remember seeing many of the children, I have been infants, that they will say, "Look, I have risen," and clap for me, or celebrate this. And in Telugu tradition, each of these milestones were celebrated. In fact, in the appendix of my book, I have a list. Of sweets that are made for each milestone. Why did I put this list as an appendix, even in my book, is to know that traditionally there was a lot of wisdom in noticing these milestones and in rightly celebrating them. It's a big deal that this child has come to this stage, and we can't undermine this journey, these steps that the children take. So each step, I'm sure it was there, or it is still there in other cultures, but in the Telugu culture, they've retained it so beautifully, and I wanted to record it to show that not just pediatricians, but even our traditional, amammas and all our grandmothers had this wisdom and noticed all this, and they celebrated each milestone. So the milestones are like when the child starts cooing, they start babbling no words, and then when the child starts smiling first, and when the child turns over, and when the child starts crawling, and when the child crosses a threshold, and the first step a child takes. So all these were celebrated. How beautiful is that traditional wisdom? How so beautiful? Yeah. Now, why are these important? Why did the traditional, old people notice this? And why are the pediatricians asking us for this? Because this physical development leads to certain neurological development. And only when there is a neurological development can there be cognition, understanding, mental ability to comprehend, to समझ. जब शारीरिक तौर से हम बढ़ेंगे, तभी हमारे what do you say, न्यूरोलॉजी, नसें बढ़ेंगे, नसें डेवलप होंगे, और हमारे समझने की शक्ति और दुनिया को जानने की शक्ति तभी हम में होगा. If you notice, people who have some mental problems, sometimes people have certain difficulties. If you notice them very, very keenly, they will have certain physical disabilities. There may be a hip movement different, crossing. Have you seen children with learning difficulties do march past during an Independence Day or a Republic Day in the school? There is, at least in earlier times, there used to be a march past. Very often, they will move the same leg and the same side leg and same side hand together. So the hip will go this way. Can you understand what I'm trying to show? Like the same leg and same hand will go. And whereas in a march past, we have to cross the left leg. When it goes forward, the right hand has to go forward, the crossing opposite. So when this has not happened, there will be a difficulty in not just reading and writing, but also in a whole lot of functional, um, even in the functioning, normal functioning of a person. Even for them to copy from the blackboard, so many problems will arise. There are also many other milestones like eye tracking of the eye, like from this side. You can just watch me doing it, since we are not face to face. I can't make you do on each other or do it, but you can just watch me. So when I'm looking at my finger and I'm moving it, um, this is what is called eye tracking. Vis-a-vis, I'm going to show you the wrong method. So if I were to do this, can you see the difference what I am doing? Here, this is how I track with my eye. So this also is a milestone. A lot of children that come to us for therapy do this. So can you imagine when a teacher is writing on the blackboard, the child has to cope. The neck muscle might pain, the shoulders might pain, and in the process, he might also get irritated with the child sitting next to him. So, in all this, what happens? The child becomes difficult. The child might not have a good social relation with the child sitting next to him, might not like studies, might not like the teacher, or might become violent. So, a whole lot of problems start just because the child was unable to track the eye. Eye tracking did not happen. And eye tracking is a brain problem or a physical problem. Is it a brain neurological problem? Is it a psychological problem? Or is it a physiological problem? All learning difficulties, in my view, are physiological problems. Something has not happened in the physiology at a particular age, and hence that is manifesting as a cognitive problem, as an emotional problem. So if we work on physiology, a whole lot of problems will change. One more example I want to give you. When we have a problem with our eyesight, I myself wear spectacles. So when we can't see very far away, what do? We wear a specs. So do we call ourselves slow learners? Do we call ourselves low IQ? We do not. But very unfortunately, when a child who has not gone through these developmental milestones and hence is not able to study well or perform well, the child is called as low IQ and the child is labeled as slow learner. Actually, a lot of awareness has to be created about how important physical development is. When I was a baby, and in the villages, even now, many people don't know when the child was born. When a child was, birthday, they will not know. So what would happen is the adult or sometimes the medical officers, they will say, lift your hand and touch like this. Did you know that before a child is 5 years old, they can't do this? This hand will only go up to here. So when they touch like this, they will know, okay, this child is now 5 years. And then the child will be admitted into school. Yes, 5 years was when a child was admitted into school in olden days. And we'll come to that later. But these physical developments will only lead to cognitive abilities, problem solving, spatial awareness. So many children come to me with handwriting problem. Handwriting problem is one, of course, motor skill problem, but also a lot of times spatial awareness. Spatial awareness, like if they are asked to write on a plain paper, the writing goes cross. So they don't have that awareness of space. And on a higher level, sometimes as adults, we say things like, mind your business, don't cross your limits, isn't it? So when we don't have this spatial awareness and this proper sense of touch, we will cross limits, we will cross boundaries in the higher realm. in our emotional, mental realm. We don't know where to draw boundaries, where to stop ourselves. So I think everything starts with physiology. Next slide, please. Yes. Now it's important to recognize these the significance of these milestones, and also to identify any potential developmental delays. So, in my book, I've given a checklist at the end of each chapter, and the chapters are age wise, like 0 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, and then so on and so forth. Then first year, second year, third year, fourth year, up to 7 years. Each year, what should be noticed. And of course, it's not like as though second birthday hote hi ye ho jana chahiye. We are not like a machine, we're not like that. But more or less around that age, it has to happen. I've also given a lot of parameters. ये सब कुछ हुआ नहीं हुआ तो प्रॉब्लम है, एक दो चीज नहीं हुआ तो वो होने के लिए क्या करना, what should we do for that to happen. So these are the things that we need to bear in mind. But I think if parents start noticing milestones, then if at all you have to interfere, then you interfere very early. And that's the sensible thing to do. And believe me, in our culture, they were really blessed with this wisdom, because when I did my research, in fact, when I was doing my course in remedial therapy, and when my teachers in Australia used to teach me these movements, like crawling is important, and it used to ring a bell. I used to say, around that time we say this particular rhyme. We have this swaying movement, Saindad Amma, Saindad in Tamil. I'm sure there are equivalent rhymes in other languages. And we have something called elephant, elephant, rocking elephant for this movement. These were all told at that particular month, because that's the movement in that month that the child has to cross, that child has to go through that movement. And so sensibly they had these traditional rhymes. So this book started actually as a rhyme book that would correlate all these traditional rhymes. My teacher was amazed when I showed her the movement and I showed her the rhyme, the meaning of the rhymes. She said, this is like treasure, put this all together, you will lose it. And I'm noticing that many young parents don't even know these rhymes. And there are in Marathi, in Telugu, in Tamil, Malayalam, such beautiful rhymes. And I've correlated, I've collected all this, and I've tried to correlate it with the chapters and place them. And I want parents to use these traditional rhymes. I've also given English versions of each, but I'm sure that whether you use the rhymes that I've given in my book or not, it will nudge you to search what was practiced in your family, in your culture. I think that's so important to retain and pass on to our young children. And I want parents to bear this in mind and move forward. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes, parental involvement is very important. Yes, tummy time is very important, providing opportunities. And I want to, share one small anecdote before I end. Recently, I was with a young mother in the family, and the baby was hardly 1.5, 2 years old. And the child was playing in the kitchen. They had bought vegetables for a big function, and a lot of us were there in the family. And the mother started, the child was playing with the potatoes and whatever, and it started putting it in a basket or pushing it out. And the mother said, 1, 2, 3, learn to count. This anxiety that I have to teach counting. And the child just lost interest and just went away. And I didn't say anything, because I don't try to push my view unless I'm asked for it. But I was just thinking, isn't this what we are doing? This is just a small anecdote, and it's a very simplified example that I'm giving. But when we make children write, read, uh, think early, we are preempting them to get sort of aversion towards learning, number one, or even if they
I think there's some network issue with the speaker. So until she connects back, let us talk about our upcoming talks. Can you share the slides, please? Upcoming talks. So on 16th December at 11 a.m., we have a talk on Adventures Beyond Boundaries, the Greater Hyderabad Adventure Club Way. It is by Manideep.
It's not visible. The upcoming talk screen is not visible.
Okay. Is it visible? It is by Manideep Kanagala, who is president and outdoor leader. It's on 16th December, Saturday, 11 a.m. on Zoom. All our webinars will also be live casted on YouTube. You can also view it on YouTube. And the next talk is on 23rd of December by Radhika Iyer Talati. It is on foods and energies. You know, foods are categorized in the three segments based on their energy levels. So she's going to talk in detail about all the foods and the energies. So she's a yogini, founder and trustee of Ra Foundation and Anahata Organics. It's on 23rd December, 11 a.m. And let's talk about our fundraisers. Okay, our speaker is back.
Yeah.
Please.
Can you see me?
talk. Yeah.
It's getting on to 12. So shall we?
Yeah, I have. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Sita, so we'll complete the milestones up to this period, and then we'll do it, continue it in our next talk.
Yeah, I have completed my talk. I've completed my talk. Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that. I just lost power in the house. So, but I've completed. That was the end of my slides. That I was just mentioning that parents, if we preempt something, children lose interest in studies, number one, or sometimes they just mimic what we think. There is no creative thinking, there is no self-thinking. Yeah, I end with this. We will take questions. I'm not too familiar doing the Zoom on
We'll
phone.
forward from
So
we'll take.
if any questions, yes.
I'd like to express my gratitude to everybody who has joined us today with your presence. And we hope we'll have a very good interaction session while you're taking a survey. Before we move on to this question and answer session, I would like you all to take a survey. It'll take 30 seconds. The purpose of the poll is to understand you a little better so that we can better curate the topics that we bring to you. You can also let us know in the chat box how you found out about Vishwa Talks. If you're a Vishwa Talks subscriber, if you're a Vishwa Talk subscriber, heard about us through friends and family, or found out about the event on social media, please let us know. Please understand that most of the talks, we are unable to advertise it on social media because of the various restrictions that are there. But the talks that Vishwa Talks is coming up with are very pertinent to our current situation, to the people around us, to our society. So we request you to share it with friends and family and those that you feel it would make a difference to. While you do that, I would really like to extend my gratitude to our speaker, Ms. Sita Anand, for taking the time to grace this event. This is a topic, I mean, I have 3 grandsons, and each time I listen to Ms. Sita Anand, I'm like, I don't want to leave her. I want to sit with her for 5 hours and then keep on asking questions and questions and questions. But, it might look very simple, but if we do some of the mistakes that some parents can do, like she said, pushing the child to study, to learn, to move on, to count, to move on in their anxiety to see the child grow, if they're making mistakes, the impact it will have can have a huge impact on the future of the child. With this in mind, though Sita Anand ma'am had a book published, and it is talking about the development milestones up to the adult age. We had requested her to do um, in different sessions, so that today we've covered the first set of milestones in the first age group, and we will continue this talk. We request you to ensure that other people who need it, or it will be helpful to, please share it with them when she does the next sessions. Thank you so much, Sita Anand ma'am, and thank you to all.
Thank you for doing this. Every topic that you choose so socially relevant and useful. And for me, like I began with a prayer. If we don't have the respect and reverence for children, we can't take this world forward the way it has to be. And the social evils that we see around us are just a reflection of this reverence that we have lost. So if we have to bring a change in society, we need to handle children in a more sensitive, sensible way, not just sensitive and pamper them just like that, but, understand what is it that they need, not what they want and what we want, but what they need and do. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. So we'll move to our question answers. There is one lady who has a question. My baby is 11 months and she's not crawling. Any advice?
Yeah. There are a few factors that may be responsible. Very easy ones. If the child has not had enough floor time, if the child has not had enough nutrition, even in the womb, sometimes tension, stress during pregnancy of mothers. My book starts with pre-pregnancy and pregnancy. In our culture, a lot of importance was given to the happiness of pregnant women. And it's so because when you're stressed, what happens in your stomach? You get a tightness, right? Kadupu tipputundi antam kada. My stomach is churning. Pet mein kuch ho raha hai. So when you can imagine, when a pregnant mother feels like that, this baby is tender. It is only this much. What will happen to the nerves? What will happen to that baby inside? Very strong things can happen. It's very tender. So be happy during pregnancy. But if you have not had a happy pregnancy, don't worry. It's not the end of the day. In my book, I have shared the story, a real life story of a mother whose child was declared a vegetable after birth. And the child you can now see on Instagram doing hula hoop, a very complicated movement. And child is brilliant, lives in New York City. The mother is a pediatric massage therapist, Antonia Menes. You can follow her on Insta. So don't lose hope. One is, if there was tension and there was a birth difficulty, that could be the reason, or sometimes not adequate floor time, sometimes not enough nutrition. You're giving the wrong kinds of foods and the muscles won't grow. And there could be various reasons. I cannot say just like that without seeing the child and without doing some tests. But it is important that you notice that this has not happened and seek some medical remedial advice.
Okay. Mr. Shmel, please ask your question.
Thank you very much. First, a very interesting presentation. And I want to ask you next question. What, according to you, impacts of social and economic well-being of the family on development child, on development different aspects of life of the child?
Yes, I'll just repeat the question and just let me know if I've got it right. What are the implications of the social and economic status of a family on the child's development?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes,
financially,
exactly.
yes, financially, if it affects the diet of a child, then definitely there will be adverse effects. But otherwise, the environment, if it is healthy, not polluted, and if it is safe, I don't see any reason why it should affect. Socially, yes, if there is a lot of tension in the family, there could be very far-reaching repercussions. With even the best diet, if a child is living in a stressed environment, it cannot grow normally. This is something very important for parents to understand. Socially, they need a very caring, warm environment. In fact, research on early brain development states that warm, loving, secure relationships are as important as diet for early childhood. It is so important. But financially, I have seen a lot of happy children in slums, and they grow. Actually, they're very smart. The crossing happens beautifully because there's a lot of movement. They are running, they're doing a lot of naughty things, pushing a wheel on the road, climbing trees, and getting hurt. Did you know that getting hurt is part of growing up? Because pain, what does pain do? It makes us aware, it wakes us up. So pain is part of growing up. So financially, other than diet and a healthy environment, non-polluted environment, I don't see any reason why financially anything could affect children. They don't need expensive toys. They in fact do not need expensive toys. They do not need gadgets. So all these poor children can actually celebrate that they don't have those things to interfere in their growth. Does that answer your question, sir?
Unmute, please.
Yes, I very like it, your answer, and thank you very much.
I wanted to add to that, Shmel. The beauty of in India is that the same milestones which Sita Anand ma'am said is available to the rich is also available to the poor. In fact, in all the villages, in all the socially, economically backward locations or families, what I have noticed is, like I was speaking to somebody working with us, and she said, when I had twins, I had an old lady who used to come and give massages to my children, give baths, and we used to take care of her food. So she stayed with me for 6 months. So we have a system where the old are taken care of, and they take care of the bathing and the necessities. And they also tell what kind of food the child should have, what kind of food the pregnant women should have. So luckily for us, there is passing of a little bit of information. But right now, what is happening is because of the migration from rural areas to urban areas, in the slums, sometimes these food materials is not available, and there is an issue of the diet getting impacted. But Ms. Sita Anand is working very hard on creating diets for mothers and young mothers and babies, and she's working very hard towards creating a nutritious diet which is available for the socially economically backward people. Yeah, you must support her. We expect you to do some funding for her.
Yes, and
Thank
so
you,
is
thank you.
Vishwa working towards that.
Yeah.
Through Shrivani ma'am. Mhm.
Yeah. So our next question is from Ms. Ketan. I see babies around 1 year who start walking early having hooked knees. Is it because of early walking before the muscles and bones are developed enough?
It could be, but I can't give a blanket statement saying that is the reason. It could be other reasons as well, but walking before the muscles and bones are ready will lead to that. Yes.
And I've noticed a lot of parents are now sending their children to creches because they're working parents, and also they're putting them in schools early. What is your thought process on that?
Yes. I was mentioning, I posed a question: how soon should a child hold a pencil? Was my question. Um, because my answer is going to be very controversial. And so I think when the milk teeth fall, that is when a child is ready for formal learning, instructed learning. So, but before that, going to a creche is not wrong in the sense, sometimes due to circumstances, they have to go. Ideally, it should not be there. A home is the best environment a child can grow in, a loving environment. But if there are so many, ifs and buts. So I will not say a creche is a bad idea. A creche which does not introduce formal learning, a creche that is child friendly, knows what to do at that age, is okay to send your child to. But when we start learning very early, it is like this: when you wake up before you've had your quota of sleep, what happens towards the end of the day? You become tired. So life is like a journey that when we start thinking and learning very early, we become tired towards the end. Our life is meant like a marathon. We need to preserve this energy for a long time. In the initial years, you can be slow. You're supposed to be slow. And so it's our anxiety. Will my child fit in? Will my child get there? But remember, you're running a marathon race with your child. So don't be anxious about how soon to reach, but you definitely have to reach. You will reach. You in a marathon, finishing the race is important. Life, to live. See, there are so many children who, in reality shows, we see, they do so much, and then what happens? How emotionally strong are they? How many suicides we hear about? Even yesterday I got a call from one of the schools in Karnool, where a young child committed suicide in class 10. Of course, class 10 portion can be a very stressful, but is that going to take your life away? Can you just imagine? And I am not exaggerating this. If you take the statistics of the number of students that commit suicide, it is alarming. It is alarming. You may think, oh, it has not happened in my circle, it's not happened to my child. But we are slowly, as a society, pushing this on children. And this chadu anedi, it's a vankai pulsu. It's like we're all going to get there. We will all get there. See, simple, you and me, we are much older compared to this young parents. So when I first touched a computer, I was 21 years old. I had completed 21 years, but today I'm able to use one fairly well, and I'm able to function. Why should we introduce it in LKG? There's no, just because technology is available, we don't need to use it. Very recently, I attended an educational conference where there were 350 plus stalls. And save for, I think, 2 stalls that were about physical, movement equipment, every single stall was gadgets. Every single, to teach phonetics, language, to even teach to tie shoelace. There's something called acquired knowledge. There's something called instructed knowledge. I think we need to acquire a lot of knowledge on our own. You don't need to teach everything, please. I think this anxiety to teach has to come down. They will get there. Just trust that. Even children with learning difficulties, you read enough about Edison and Einstein, who were declared abnormal, and what have they achieved? What And so many real life stories of one adult believing in the child, leading to a miraculous change in the child. So even for parents with children with the learning difficulties, relax, don't pass on your stress, and you take care of yourself and your child. Happy parents lead to happy children. So don't stress your child, don't get stressed.
Yeah, our next question is from Miss Lakshmi Shankar.
Hi, hello, Sita.
Hi, Lakshmi.
Yeah, so since we were talking about early childhood and the child in the womb and other things, so I teach music. So I've been learning music from the age of 8. So music has been an intrinsic part of my life. So when I was expecting my children, I used to sing a lot to them. Even when they were in my womb, I used to sing a lot. So I want to know, I've heard that music is a very significant part of the fetal growth and also subsequently when after the child is born. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, I have an entire chapter on music in my book and how important it is. When I did my remedial therapy for children who have lack of focus, like what you call as attention deficit, for them we use something called music therapy. And in my own experience as a remedial therapist, I have just by using music, Carnatic music, we have cured a child who was brought to us as ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive child. Only music therapy. I didn't even I did the exercises for a few days, and then I realized music is enough for this child. Music is hugely powerful, a very powerful tool. And I also, as you know, like I learn music even now, and I teach music to my teachers and to my students. And one thing about music is, when I say pregnant women can listen to a lot of music, sometimes very early on, it is better not to sing. That's what my teacher told me. It is good to listen, because it can be the mother's voice is used as therapeutic tool. Mother's voice, they record it and play it to children for them to get cured. That's how powerful. But this topic is really huge about music, and I was actually thinking, we should I have a module on music when I do my teacher training with schools in early childhood. Music is, thank you for bringing that up, and I think we need to sing a lot. What kind of music? Pentatonic notes, to tell in a nutshell. 5 notes like Mohana Ragam in Carnatic, Bhupali in Hindustani are most ideal. The Japanese kind of music, Chinese, Japanese kind of that kind of notes, they are very, very ideal. I have a bad voice today, otherwise I would have hummed Mohanam for you, but that's Mohanam is so ideal for early childhood.
You said Mohanam. What was the other one?
In Hindustani, the same thing is called Bhupali.
Bhopal. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any app or a disc that you have come out with, or a website where you've come out with what music to put at what age group?
Yes, I have a set of songs which I've recorded in my voice. And I've not kept it for sale, but when I go to a school for teacher training, I give them that, I share that with them. But we had various ideas about coming with this book, this parenting manual, and one of the things that I wanted was that we attach an iPod with it, with music, and also some video of children crawling, creeping and all, but it proved to be very expensive and would add to the cost of the book. So we shelved that idea, but I would love to. I have a YouTube channel where I have some songs for children. I have topic wise, like mango songs and Diwali songs like that. So it's called Ananda Ragam. Not very easy to find because I've not really worked on improving my audience, the number of audience, but I will do it soon.
Okay. Another question we have. My 6-year-old child is having a vaginal discharge. Is this okay?
You have to consult a pediatrician. I'm only a remedial therapist. I think it is not correct, but please check with the pediatrician. There could be various reasons. Toxicity in the body could also lead to something like this, and stress can also lead to toxicity.
My child is 3 months old and he starts waking up at night, with crankiness. What should I do?
3 months.
Yes.
That's normal. One of the things that I wanted to mention in my talk, and that power went, and I had a concluding few lines. The power went and it got disrupted my conclusion. So a few things that I wanted to hashtag was rhythm. What do I mean by rhythm? Is timetable. So when you say a 3-month-old child is crying in the night, it's not abnormal. It could be colic. It could be various reasons, but following a rhythm, switching off the lights at the right time, same time, putting soothing, singing a song, even if it doesn't matter what your voice is or how good a singer you are, but singing a simple song every day, same song, a same set of songs. That's a good idea to put a child to sleep. Feed feed on demand, not according to the clock. And also, burping the child, making sure that digestion is good, will lead to good sleep. Digestion, sleep, diet, all are connected. And bathing time, don't bathe the child after a meal. That can be counterproductive. Bathe the child when he's really hungry, feed him. Yeah, I think that's the best that I can answer about a 3-month-old online. Yeah.
The next question is, do you think a 2.5-year-old child can be diagnosed with ADHD?
Yes and no. If I see the child, I can tell. If it's really severe, I can tell. But a little bit of, a lot of times I say this, that in kindergarten, children are not supposed to sit still for more than 10 minutes. They cannot. 15 minutes, brilliant, but not more than that. They need movement. But I am not saying surely this child has no problem. I can't say that without seeing the child. Yeah.
Next question from Dr. John Sarkar. What is the ideal age for children to start holding pencils and pens?
What do you think?
You said milk teeth.
Yes, exactly. So 6 years. 6 years is when they're ready. Finland is looked upon as the country with the best educational practices. There, children start when they're 7 years old. So in India, we had this ceremony called Upanayanam, when the children completed 6 and entered the 7th year. So that is what is Upanayanam. Upanayanam, opening of the third eye. Children are ready for formal instructed learning at that time. Simple.
So people go to Basra and do a puja. Is it the same?
They do it very early nowadays.
Hmm.
They've changed the timing of that according to their anxiety. But yes, they start early these days. But yes.
Oh, so it has to be done at the time of the teeth falling of the tooth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question is, what do you think about the Montessori method of education versus the Waldorf method of education?
Yeah, both are beautiful in their own ways. I will tell you, in my humble opinion, what I have understood. I may be complete, or my answer might be complete or not. I don't know. What I have understood is only what I can share. In my opinion, Montessori is beautiful in its understanding of early childhood anatomy and how the child grows, and the equipment is superb. What they have, Montessori equipment is superb. Waldorf makes it lifestyle. Waldorf does not make it therapy, it makes it lifestyle, like beading, pasting. These are not done as activities, but they're done as things we use. So I find that beautiful in Waldorf. And Waldorf also has a lot of scope for the way a story is told. It addresses emotional learning. It addresses value-based teaching in a very deep way, in an extremely deep way, where there's a lot of inner work by teachers. And it's got an immense amount of spiritual philosophy behind teacher training. It's very elaborate. So that is the difference between Montessori and this. But as a system, Montessori, I have absolutely the biggest awe of what Maria Montessori wrote and taught. And in fact, all of it is not being followed. If you read her books, they've taken the methodology. Sometimes the spirit of what she's told is not taken. It happens even in Waldorf many times, but not as much is lost like what is lost in Montessori. But both are beautiful systems.
Waldorf covers all the milestones of the child as they grow.
Yes, in fact, Waldorf curriculum is age-based. Up to the higher secondary school, it is age-based. So this is why we don't teach fractions before 9 years. This is why certain stories are not told before that age. This is why certain stories only are told in this age. And even the selection of subjects such as history, Greek history is taught at a particular time, and a creation story like say Dashawataram is taught at a particular time, because that's when a child gets this doubt: am I really this mother's child? How can I trust them? So that is when creation story is told across the world, and in India we chose Dashawataram, but the entire curriculum is age-based.
And like Montessori school, they do a lot of, they have a lot of activities age-based. Same is the issue with
Yes.
And Montessori teachers have teachers who are trained for almost 10 to 20 years. But Waldorf doesn't have a teacher training program. How does it work?
We actually have, and it's very strictly followed abroad. In India, things happen very quick. We did not have the luxury of having that kind of a training. But it is a shame that I'm saying this now, that after now it has been almost 20 years since Waldorf entered India. And if we still don't have a very strict teacher training module, it's a shame. I am sorry for that. And I do my bit by doing my teacher training. I have a very strict module that I cover for those who are interested. But very often schools tell me, Naku story telling matram icheseyandi, madam. Naku music matram teeskoni randi. So I am okay, because somewhere I have to take this forward. And I am all for taking it forward to mainstream school. And I don't insist that I will work only in Waldorf school, because even if this much stress I can reduce in a mainstream school, I think my work is done. And I think that my calling is in working with mainstream. Yes.
How many Montessori schools and Waldorf schools that you would advise are worth looking at in Hyderabad? Which of them are really good, well maintained?
Can I please not answer this? I am so sorry. This is very controversial, and it's my opinion, and I could be colored as much as I try not to be, but I
appreciate it.
Yeah.
There's a question from Dr. John Sarkar. We are an NGO. We enroll unprivileged children at 6 years, but it's too late to enroll in formal education, starting at age 6 and the first standard. Okay. So yes, we've covered all the questions. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you to all the audience.
I didn't get the last comment by Mr. John's.
What is the ideal age? for children to start schools. He says he's running an NGO where he enrolls underprivileged kids at 6 years.
Good. That's good. That's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you, all of you, to all the participants for being patiently participating in such a wonderful talk by Ms. Sita Anand. And Ms. Sita Anand, the topics you're picking up, the contribution you're giving to society is commendable.
I'm too humbled and grateful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Vishwa team. Fantastic job.
Thanks for interpretation. The session was phenomenal.
Lastly, I would like to thank Vishwa Talks for bringing up such pertinent topics. And please take a moment to subscribe to Vishwa Talks to get alerts on every new and exciting talk and our events and access to Vishwa community. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.